showboating, taunts, trash talking. Some MMA fighters are notorious for resorting to out-of-the-box antics to get under their opponent's skins and win fights, but not all displays of bravado and machismo go unpunished. In today's video, we'll witness cocky fighters getting put in their place with satisfying knockouts, and we're starting off with the rowdy one, Ronda Rousey. For years, the former UFC bantamweight champion reigned supreme, using her deadly judo skills and arm bars to blow her opponent's shoulders out of their sockets. But somewhere along the lines, Rousey's unmatched success got in her head, and things went south, starting off with her battle against Holly Holm. Now, ahead of the fight, Rousey was all over her opponent, calling her fake and whatnot.
I really felt like all that sweetness and respect leading up to this point was really fake, and I saw it in that moment, and I'm going to show her what's up on Sunday, and I'm done with all of this.
She even refused to shake hands or touch gloves and carried herself like a mean machine, for which she was put in her place. During the first round of their fight, Holm absolutely destroyed Rousey's nose with straight lefts, all while avoiding her takedowns. And in round two, she fed her arch rival a big chunk of the humble pie with a crunching head kick. That put an end to the illustrious title reign. Rousey refused to accept the reality and burst out of the cage like a crybaby. But that's kind of normal when you are comforted by this false sense of invincibility that also led to the downfall of another UFC legend called Anderson Silva. The Spider was cocky throughout his career, not in a bad way though, because he was just so much better than the competition he was facing. His striking was levels above everyone else, and he literally sent a number of people on a one-way trip to the Shadow Realm with his power and precision, backed by a ton of showboating. Unfortunately, there comes a time when everyone becomes predictable. Silva's time came against Chris Weidman, where the Brazilian showed shocking disregard of the American's power. Silva kept his hands low, taunted Weidman, and danced like a clown around the cage like he was in a sparring session. And his disrespectful behavior ultimately led to one of the biggest upsets in UFC history, when Weidman connected with a big punch and sent Silva to the land of Ghost. Now, like his idol Anderson Silva, Israel Adesanya exudes confidence as well, so much so that some believe he's a bit cocky, even with guys who have the upper hand against him like Alex Pereira. The Brazilian already had 2 wins against Izzy in kickboxing when he came to the UFC, but the UFC 281 pre-fight trash talking would make one think otherwise.
Job. I f***ed this guy up in the first fight. Not crazy, but the judges gave it to him. Second fight, I had him on skates, and I made a judgment call, an error in my part. And it was a beautiful story for him because in his backyard, down 2 rounds, on the 3rd round, he comes and knocks me out. That's a beautiful story for him. Go back to UFC 92, Vanderlei Silva versus Rampage Jackson. That's a clear example of how I see this going the 3rd time. He who laughs last, laughs best. And I'm going to have the last laugh.
Do you believe he deserves to be in the position that he is now? Do you
Deserving
feel like
is subjective. Deserve, everyone deserves this. Earned. Did you earn the position? That's what everyone says, deserve. Did you earn it? People say, I don't deserve this shit. They say, oh, he doesn't deserve this. He doesn't deserve to have all these money, all this accolades and whatnot. I'm like, fuck you, I earned this shit. I don't think he's earned it, to be honest.
Put him on skates last time. And this time when I put you on skates, I'm gonna leave you frozen like Elsa.
Despite the one-sided trash talk, it was a competitive fight where Pereira still managed to get the better of his opponent with a standing knockout for the ages. The KO made fans extremely happy, like the humbling of Michael Venom Page at the hands of Douglas Phenom Lima. The Brit is literally the cockiest dude in all of MMA. He always keeps his hands low, disrespects his opponents with his dances and antics, and even throws Pokeballs at them after breaking their skulls with his high-flying moves. But there was one time that he was the nail instead of being the hammer as usual. In his first fight against Douglas Lima in 2019, MVP didn't have things going his way. He showboated, taunted, and disrespected his opponent, who stayed patient and then pounced on his opportunity. In round 2, Lima kicked the Brit's leg as he was moving forward, causing him to fall to the canvas, and on the way up, the Brazilian blasted him with a thunderous right hand that ended the fight in a blink. 100%. Now, Bellator has been home to a ton of characters, And one such guy is James Gallagher, the Wish version of Conor McGregor who thinks he's that guy. But he took a humble pie when he battled Ricky Bandejas in 2018, where tempers were high during face-off. Even when the two entered the cage, Gallagher's antics continued in full swing as he walked towards his opponent and had an intense face-off as the announcer called their names. The fight was back and forth as both men produced nice moments throughout round one, but a hard right hand followed by a foot to the face of the Irishman halfway through had him on roller skates. Bandejas unleashed an avalanche of strikes and buried Gallagher's pride with an ice-cold finish. Gallagher's naysayers had a ball that night, just like Ben Askren's critics, who had a fantastic 2019. The Funky One had a shaky but successful UFC debut against Robbie Lawler, after which he was tasked to fight Street Jesus Jorge Masvidal. Before their fight, Askren mocked Masvidal and made a lot of fun of him.
I don't understand where he's trying to go. He's trying to make every excuse why he doesn't have to fight me. You never heard him once say, put me against Askren, he's an easy fight, I'll kick his ass. He didn't say that.
Masvidal stayed quiet and waited for the right opportunity to level the score, which he managed to do in record time at UFC 239, where right off the bat, he launched himself forward and blasted Askren with a flying knee from the pits of hell to baptize the former Bellator champion for his sins. Now, as they say, what goes around comes around, and Masvidal had a taste of his medicine in his rematch against Kamaru Usman. At UFC 251, Masvidal stepped in on short notice to face Usman, and despite the lack of preparation, he gave the champion a run for his money. Though he lost, Masvidal campaigned for a rematch for the next 2 months, claiming that he'd shut the Nigerian's lights out with a full camp.
I'm gonna bust your face up, break more bones than last time.
Word.
Remember this face. Word. Word, my brother.
Masvidal got his wish at UFC 261, but he failed to back his words up. In round 1, Usman used his wrestling to control him, and in round 2, the Nigerian Nightmare slapped Masvidal with a hellish right hand, putting an end to Game Bread's time at the top. Now, with Eric Silva signed with the UFC, he was touted as the promotion's next big thing, managed by the colorful Waleed Ismail. And while Silva did manage to have an electric start to his career with a 40-second KO of Luis Ramos in 2011, he couldn't really capitalize on it, as for the next 5 years, he alternated wins with losses. In 2016, he battled Nordine Taleb at UFC 196, where he extended his hand for a glove touch, only to follow it up with a cheap shot. Taleb survived and a firefight ensued, with Silva pressing forward and taunting before Karma finally did his job. In round 2, Taleb caught a kick from Silva and then crushed every bone in his skull with a thudding straight right that had the Brazilian falling face first to the canvas. As they say,
see, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're gonna find out.
Rafael Natal also learned it the hard ways. In his 2012 bout against Andrew Craig, Natal showboated like he was going to get extra points on the scorecards for acting like a circus clown. But he paid a hefty price for keeping his hands low when a head kick had him folded like a lawn chair. A couple of shots on the follow-up and it was 99. The next KO is one of the most satisfying moments when the cocky guy, aka Joe Harding, was humbled by good guy Johan Segas in their amateur bout in 2017. Throughout the fight, Harding showboated like he was featuring in Dancing with the Stars. For 2 rounds, Harding landed some big shots and then mocked his opponent. 20 seconds into the 3rd round, Harding danced again, but Segas stopped him in his tracks with a perfectly timed head kick. Harding was knocked out cold, like poor little Cody Garbrandt, who lost his career due to rage. Mr. No Love was on top of the world when he put his title on the line against his arch rival for the first time in 2017, where tempers were high because of differences between the two. Garbrandt drew first blood in round 1, troubling Dillashaw with his cat-like reflexes before dropping him right on the buzzer. Once the round ended, Garbrandt flipped Dillashaw off before going back to his corner, and a minute later, he paid a hefty price, a UFC gold belt, for his cockiness when TJ caught him with a swinging combo, and it was all she wrote. So these were the times when cocky fighters got served the humble pie in the form of a knockout. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and turn on those notifications. Thank you.